Well, good morning. I want to welcome you here for our 2026 Beam Business Services Power Series. We're doing these every month, and I'm excited about this morning because this is a very simple lesson today, but the ramifications and the change that can occur in your life, in your business, in your relationships is really amazing. It's one of those simple things that has amazing implications. So I want to give my thanks to the Portsmouth, Ohio Chamber of Commerce. Lisa is with us here today, and I appreciate her. They promote these events, and I give these as a give back to the community to help people improve their lives and their businesses. So we thank you for being here today. Let's see where we're going today. We're going to start, as always, with the rules of the game. I hope this never gets old for you. It doesn't get old for me because it's one of those things that the more repetition you have and the more you hear it, the better. And so the reason we have these rules of the game is so you, by following these rules and being mindful of these rules, can get the most out of this time that you're investing with me. So the first rule of the game is this: you agree to own it. Now, what we're talking about today is how you relate to other people. And let me just be very direct with you all today. People make excuses for how they relate to other people. They say, that's just my personality, or that's just the way I am, or I'm not a morning person, or I'm not a people person, or etc., etc. What I'm asking you to do today is to consider dropping all your excuses, to dropping all of your blame that it's the other person, to truly embrace and own the fact that you can be the person you want to be regardless of how other people are being. It's a high bar. It's really putting things up there to say you can be who you want to be if you choose to be, regardless of what your circumstances, your surroundings, your environment, how other people treat you. That's owning it. What can you own? You really can own yourself and your responses. You can't own other people, you can't own what they do, but you can choose to own yourself. And that's what we're looking at today. 100% participation. We're going to be here for a little less than 30 minutes. It's a full engagement and paying attention, and really paying attention not just to the program and to the words and the presentation, but paying attention to your responses and your thoughts. And when I ask a question as a coach, you actually consider the answer for yourself. So it's a full engagement. We might even use 100% engagement. So you're going to own it. You're going to own your responses, the way you respond to other people. You're going to be responsible and accountable. You're going to participate 100%. And then drop the I know. You know, again, today's presentation is very simple. It might just be one of those obvious things. Doesn't everybody know this? I think everybody has a sense of what we're going to talk about today, but I don't think most people do it regularly and consistently. So dropping the I know would be, I'm going to come into this totally open to how I might transform and change. The coach is telling me today that if I pay attention today, if I own my responses, if I participate 100%, that this can be a transformational session for me. I can change significantly today. Well, the I know would raise its head and say, oh, I know that won't happen. What can happen in 30 minutes? Please set that aside and be open to what might happen to you in this next few minutes. And if you'll do all that, you can choose to have some fun, Smile at yourself, not take yourself too seriously, not beat yourself up, and just think about this is just about coaching. This is how to get better. This is how to improve my performance. So, if you're ready to go, I'm ready to jump in and look at this thing called the emotional bank account. That's a scale. Maybe you've seen the scales of justice. Today we're going to look at this little two-pan scale this way. You've got the left pan, which we'll call the deposit pan, and the right pan, which is the payout. So you withdraw and you pay. And when that equals, then you've pretty much got a balance there. So we're calling this the emotional bank account. And this is a concept, by the way, that comes from Stephen Covey and his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I highly recommend the book. It's a classic. And this is one of the paradigms that he shares in that book. And he says we need to look at our relationships with other people like a bank account. Now let's talk a little bit about banking this morning. You open a bank account and you put deposit in the bank account. You deposit, let's say, $10,000 into a checking account. Now, if you know how bank accounts work, and sometimes I wonder if people do understand this when they overdraw, but you put $1,000 in, and so now that's available to you to withdraw from. So you can take up to $1,000 out of that account and it stays healthy and it stays open. If you withdraw more than what you put in, you create a problem. You could even end up having to close that account. You could end up being bankrupt. In other words, if you spend more than you deposit, you are in trouble. So Covey makes the point here that we need to look at our relationships that way. So I want you right now, as you go through this, to think of some key relationships in your life. Maybe it's a spouse. Maybe it's a key employee. Maybe it's a child. It's just someone who you transact with as a person. They're a friend. They're an employee. They're a family member. And you have interaction with them. You have a relationship with them. And here's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at this two-pan balance. Deposits and withdrawals that you make into that person's life. Now, again, I'm going really slowly today, and I want you just to kind of marinate in the thought and start to think about, how do I contribute to other people's emotional bank account, and how do I withdraw? And then think about when those people relate to you. How do they deposit into your account, and how do they take out of your account? What are some specific things that we say and do and actions that we take that create a deposit? What specific actions, words, and attitudes that we carry create a withdrawal? Here's a great coaching question right now. In your relationships, are you more of a giver or a taker? Isn't that an interesting question? Covey, in his book, talks about 6 particular ways you can deposit into others' accounts. So we're going to look at each of these. We're going to look at both sides of the coin on each of these. We're going to look at these 6 deposits, and we're also going to see how the other side, or the antithesis of that, could be a huge withdrawal. So let's look at this first one. It's another one of Covey's 7 habits, seeking first to understand before you're understood. So this is in communication. This is in conversation. This is when you're sitting down with a person, or perhaps you're on Zoom call or something with someone, and you're going to have a communication with them. Here's the question. When you sit down to communicate with somebody, do you first seek to understand them? And how do you do that? By giving your full attention, your full presence, your full empathy to them in the communication. Before you ask them or seek for them to do that with you. This is a leadership principle. People that are great leaders, effective leaders, in my mind, they lead with their ears. They lead with their listening. They lead with sitting down with somebody and kind of laying things out and then turning off their mouth and turning on their ears, and they truly want to understand the other person. Not to just respond or reply to them, but just to empathize with them, to identify with them, to have a sense and a feeling of where they're coming from, where their mindset is, where their problem is, where their feeling is, where their hurt is, where their joy is. What is it that they are having fun with? What is it that they're struggling with? Now, folks, in the world of business, people will tell me, I don't know if I have time to do that. I'm telling you, you don't have time not to do it. If you will begin to deposit into people's bank account by listening carefully to understand them before you want to be understood, the payoff will be huge. It's not just we're doing this to be pragmatic. It's that we're saying we choose to be a listening, understanding, kind, encouraging, accepting, understanding individual. In other words, I'm choosing to be somebody who makes deposits more than I make withdrawals. So what would be the antithesis of that deposit? What would be the withdrawal of that? It's when I sit down with someone and I'm impatient with them, and I jump to conclusion about their situation, and I run over them with my ideas or my thoughts. Or sometimes, and I'm sure everybody can relate to this, you know the person that you sit with and they talk more, and they continue to talk. And if you bring anything up, they shift that conversation back to them. You tell them about an issue you're having, and then they talk about one that they have like that. In other words, it's a self-centeredness. So when you show up self-centered with somebody else, thinking just about yourself and your problem and how you feel and what you think, that is a huge withdrawal on their account. I would ask this question. When you have conversations with people, do you think they leave the conversation filled up, encouraged, better off, more optimistic and ready to face the day? Or do they leave drained? Do they leave like you've taken something from them? Do they feel more down, discouraged? It's an interesting question for you to consider. Am I a fountain or am I a drain? If I'm a fountain, I am giving, I am depositing. If I'm a drain, I'm withdrawing, I'm taking away. And it happens in communication and in conversation when I seek to understand the other person before I want to be understood. So that's the first one. That's a powerful one. Just a little evaluation. If I'm coaching somebody, we would just go through the conversations you've had in the last 48 hours. Where were you showing up as a depositor, and where were you showing up more of somebody who withdraws? Second, the little considerate things that you can do that demonstrate appreciation. I think if we took a minute for you to think about the people in your life right now, the people in your business, the people at your job, people in your church, the people in your family that you really appreciate, what are some small things you can do to just show them or demonstrate to them that you appreciate them? It's kind of a fun one for me, but unloading the dishwasher for my wife is a little easy, considerate thing I can do to show her that I appreciate her. Perhaps it's just giving a little note somewhere, dropping a little sticky note somewhere with an appreciation. And this isn't a technique, this is an attitude. How do I demonstrate to people that I care about them, that I appreciate them? When you do those little things, that is a deposit that you're making into that bank account. You have just put resource into your relationship. And folks, there can come a time in a relationship when you need to take a withdrawal, when you need to have a difficult conversation, when you maybe need to say something that could be hurtful, but it's for the ultimate good. If you've deposited into that person's bank account, you have an account there that you can withdraw on if necessary. You have plenty of equity built up there where you can count on that. And when you show up, that person knows you care, they know that you appreciate them, and they will be willing to give and to really allow you to withdraw emotionally from them when necessary. So little considerate things. Another little coaching thing you could do there is make a list of some small things you could do today to make some deposits into somebody's emotional bank account. Third, so important. When I'm dealing with managers and bosses and business owners, this one is so important. Keeping commitments. Like what kind of commitments? Showing up on time, following through on a commitment you make. In other words, it looks like this. If you're my employee and I'm going to have a weekly meeting with you at 2 o'clock on Friday, here's what happens consistently at 2 o'clock on Friday. I put my phone aside, I shut down my computer screen, you come into my office, and for that 30 minutes every Friday, I give you my full undivided attention. I always keep that appointment, and if occasionally I can't, I renegotiate that commitment. I don't just not show up or text you at the last minute. In other words, when I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it. That is a huge deposit into an emotional bank account. When you are known as a person who does what you say you're going to do, it deposits into people's feelings, into how they view you, to how they feel about you, to how they trust you. So what's a way to withdraw? You know it. You see it all the time. Oh, I'm sorry I can't make it this week. And that happens the next week. And pretty soon when you make a commitment, supposedly, to meet with somebody, they never know if it's going to happen. They really don't trust you at all. That is a huge withdrawal. When you say you're going to do something, you don't do it. Here's a good coaching question for you on this one. Do you keep your commitments? Do you show up on time when you say you're going to be somewhere? And when you show up to meet with somebody or a group, do they have your full attention? Do they have your full presence? And do you show up to understand them? And do you show up in a sense of consideration and appreciation? I know these aren't easy things to hear, but they're good challenges. They're good checkpoints for us to check on how our emotional bank account is running with everybody. Let's look at this next one. Creating and keeping clear agreements. One of the things I hear all the time as a coach is we just have all these unmet expectations or unclear expectations. And my suggestion is to get rid of expectations and replace them with agreements. Agreements means we have an objective, even written thing, if necessary, to be really clear on what you're going to do and what I'm going to do, and we can count on it. There is not just an intention, but you know it's going to happen because I've agreed to it, you've agreed to it, and we can trust that. That's a huge deposit into a bank account, emotional bank account. That with you, I know when we agree, it's going to happen. I don't have to babysit you. I don't have to even follow up that much. I don't have to keep on your back. I don't have to wonder if it's going to happen. If you said it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if I say it's going to happen, you know it's going to happen. We have a healthy relationship. The fifth one. Really, all these things are just another way to say the same thing, but I behave with personal integrity and dependability. You know I'm there for you. You know I've got your back. You know that I'm going to work and talk to other people about you in your best interest. That's a huge deposit. What would be the withdrawal? You can't depend on me. I gossip about you. Oh, I'm always having to apologize because I threw you under the bus. Or I just didn't think about you. I ignored you. I didn't consider your feelings. I didn't consider your role in something. That's a huge withdrawal. The purpose of today is just to look at these and say, which am I doing? Am I depositing more than I'm withdrawing in my relationships? The sixth one here. We're humans. We withdraw at times. Sometimes we take a big withdrawal. We hurt somebody's feelings. We do the wrong thing. Here's the question. Are you humble enough to go to that person and apologize and to ask for their forgiveness and to admit that you were wrong? Not with a lot of excuses, not with a lot of justification, just clearly, George, I told you I'd be there and I just didn't show up. I'm not going to give you a whole big long reason why I didn't show up. I'm going to say I told you I'd be there and I wasn't there. Would you forgive me for that? It's just that simple. Again, this whole thing is a very simple concept. What's difficult about it is people don't do it. I'm asking you in this few minutes together today that you choose to be a depositor, that you choose to be somebody who takes action and does these things. You're doing it because you choose to be that kind of person. You're not trying to manipulate other people or be a smoozer. What you're trying to do, or what you are going to do, or what you intend on doing, or what you plan to do, or what you commit to do is be a person who is a fountain and not a drain. And those are 6 ways that you can make strong deposits into other people's bank accounts. My last point today for this morning is that we need to regularly check our balance. I need to look at the key relationships and the people that I deal with every day, and the clients I deal with, and the vendors that I deal with, and my family members. And I need to keep a close look at my bank balances. I need to see that I'm always in the plus. I'm always depositing more than I'm withdrawing. It really just takes some proactive time to sit and to consider, how am I doing in this relationship? Maybe it's before you have these key conversations every week with somebody. Before you meet with them, you sit down and kind of do a balance check in your head. Maybe you actually have the relationship where you can check in with people and you both understand this concept of the emotional bank account, and you can ask, how is my balance? How am I doing? Folks, I hope this doesn't feel overwhelming. It's very simple. It starts with an awareness of how this works with people, and then it's a simple practice and learning and habit It's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I make it a habit of depositing more than I withdraw from people's emotional bank account. So I'm going to summarize this today with these 3 offers that I always offer. Maybe you'd like to talk more about this with somebody who will seek to understand you and listen to you and help you. Please reach out to me via email and set up a time to do that. I would love to spend 30 minutes with you on a Zoom meeting like this personally to help you with any challenge that you're having in this, with a relationship, or maybe you're a manager or a leader, maybe it's in your personal life. I would love to help you with that challenge. That's my purpose in life right now, is to just be useful to people. Second, maybe you would just like to have that slide with those 6 things. Just email me and I'll send that over to you. I'll also send you an article that kind of summarizes what we talked about today. And third, there are hundreds of articles, 1-page articles, and more hours of training like this available at my website, free of charge. You don't have to sign up for anything. You can just go and look at those things, and the links are all there. And I encourage you to do that. That's at www.mentordavebeam.com. And of course, we have these continuing programs. We try to do 30 minutes every month towards the middle of the month, and that comes in our newsletter. Hopefully you're all in the newsletter and you get notification of these. All of that resource can be found at mentordavebeam.com. And if you want to contact me personally, you go to davebeam@mentordavebeam.com. You just email that, and I'd be glad to respond and get to know you a little bit. So that's what we have for today. I appreciate you being here, and we will see you next time.